What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. Y'all like this video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate everybody that's been rocking with me, man. So I've been watching My Expert Opinion with Mav Hoffa, and it is amazing what he's done with that platform, what he's done with the, I don't know if I want to call it a podcast or just an overall show. Whatever you call it, it's dope. The brother has grown it from ground zero, and to see what it is now is simply amazing. I remember he was on Vlad TV and he was talking about how fellow battle rappers were stunting on him. Certain guys that had a higher status acting like they was too good to come on. They ain't coming on, they ain't coming on. And now I've seen his platform grow from just having battle rap guys on to some of the biggest legends in hip hop. Street legends have come on. And now it brings us to today's, the most recent episodes that started dropping yesterday. Chicago's own, from my hometown, Southside Chicago, Illinois, Inglewood to be specific, Derrick Rose. Right? And I'm watching D-Rose talking. He's so candid. He's so open and expressive. Pooh is a real, genuine dude. And everybody that I know that have ties with Pooh, Pooh is Derrick Rose's nickname, right? Anybody that got ties with D-Rose, they always talk about how genuine and solid of a man he is, for real. And how he really, really is Chicago to the bone gristle. And so he's talking about all these different stories that led to where he is now, and he hasn't even got into the stories at Memphis or the NBA or nothing. He's talking about just growing up in inner city Chicago. And so the video that he put up yesterday, it's at like 260-something thousand views already after one day. The first clip he dropped. Now he just dropped another clip that's at like almost 40,000 views in like an hour or so, right? Nonetheless, man, I saw a comment in the comment section that say, man, D-Rose has a cult fan base that really, really rock with him. They rock with him no matter what. They love this dude, man, to the core, right? And when I saw that, I said, man, let me explain why Chicagoans love Derrick Rose. See, we love D-Rose because he represents us, right? In Chicago, I always talk about how it's two Chicagos. It's the Chicago that people like Vince Vaughn grew up. Y'all know Vince Vaughn, the guy that he's a white guy, and the actor in all the funny movies, was in a lot of the different funny movies you like to see. I know one movie, For Christmases, which is really funny. He was in I remember Domestic Disturbance with John Travolta, so on and so forth. He's been on a host of different movies. What's that other movie they got called Couples Retreat or something? I think he was in. He was in that one. It's the Vince Vaughn is in. He grew up. Is that part of Chicago where people like Vince Vaughn grew up in, and it's the part of Chicago where people like Derrick Rose grew up in. I'm from the Chicago that Derrick Rose grew up in. You know what I mean? Southside, inner city. Southside, West Side, we all got the same type of stuff going on. I'm from that area. Where we've seen gang violence, we've seen, poverty, we've seen crime, so on and so forth. And we've seen just like the trials and tribulations of the black families living in the city. And so when we see Pooh, when D-Rose made it, he was a beacon of hope for kids like me and other kids throughout the city. I knew I used to hoop, in the park and stuff like that, but I knew I wasn't good enough to be in no NBA. But just seeing him make it, it did wonders for kids like me. You know what I mean? Like to see this dude that came from the same area we come from. The same area, the same Chicago public school system we came from. Rise and flourish and get to mega millions, just following his dream and honing his craft every single day. We watched Pooh grow really from Simeon, from his first early days at Simeon. Some people saw him at Beasley Elementary School on the low end, right over there, right across the street from the Robert Taylor Project housing, from where my maternal side of the family came from. My maternal side of the family come from the Robert Taylor Projects. My mama built in 5041, right? My auntie 5100. Also 5135, right? My grandma and them from the projects, so from the Robert Taylors. My cousins went to Beasley the same time D-Rose was there. You know what I mean? So it was like, man, like to see that brother come from that and make it to the pinnacle, to the top, it was like, damn, man, if you really work hard at something and you keep striving, you can achieve your wildest dreams. He changed the financial landscape for his family in ways a lot of people could never imagine, just by staying steadfast and rigorous at his goal and keeping his head on the straight and narrow and keeping his eye on the prize. And it wasn't easy. He talked about the struggles. When you growing up around these areas, Some of your friends, a lot of your friends might be in some stuff that they ain't supposed to be in. They may be influenced by gangs heavy. Them your friends is where you from. But you gotta keep your eye on the prize and stay away from that stuff because you know you got bigger dreams and bigger goals ahead of you, right? And so Pooh always kept Chicago in his heart all the way through and through. He stayed Chicago, Illinois, no matter what happened. D Rose is our LeBron James. You know that we saw a kid from the Chicago public school system, right? Where I come from, where a lot of people that look like me come from, become league MVP. We ain't never had nothing like that. Kevin Garnett, he from South Carolina. He won league MVP. It didn't feel the same way. Not like a kid born and raised. KG played 1 year of basketball here. D Rose been here his whole life until he went away to Memphis. It's a different feeling, man. That boy cultivated, homegrown, you know. And the kid never forgot where he came from. Stayed genuine to the city. Stayed giving back to the city. A lot of kids, he inspired a lot of kids to stick to the basketball route and not want to go to the streets when we saw him make it. So he inspired kids like Anthony Davis, right? He inspired kids like Jabari Parker that also went to Simeon. Kendrick Nunn that went to Simeon. Taylor Horton Tucker, THT, went to Simeon and made it. Who else I'm missing, man? I feel like I'm missing somebody else. Who the heck am I missing? He inspired guys like Ayo Dosunmu that came from my high school. Ayo is playing. He's starting point guard right now because Lonzo Ball is out. Ayo is the starting point guard for the Chicago Bulls. He inspired guys like Ayo from Morgan Park High School to make it. So when we seen him make it, we was like, oh my God. Zach Norvell came from Simeon. A whole bunch of kids came from Simeon or came from just other schools around Chicago. Big Josh, Jaleel Okafor. You know, they saw D Rose and was like, oh my God, this dude did it. We could do it too, so we feel it in our heart and soul. You know, it's just a different thing, man. We recognize and we relate to that brother on different levels, man. To be a kid that came from the humble beginnings we all came from, man. We talking about no heat in the house. In the dead of Chicago winter. Y'all know Chicago can get negative 15 below in Chicago. You can see it. I remember, like I always say this. I mean, one time we didn't have no heat in the house, me and my sisters and my mama. We got an electrical heater in one room. We all sleeping in one room because it's so cold throughout the house. You can see your breath when you talking outside of the room we was in, right? We had a room in the heat. We had a heater in the bathroom and a heater in the bedroom. We always sleeping in, and we made it work. D Rose come from them same beginnings, so we identify with that brother on different levels, man. And just a true dude that's true to where he come from, you know, and didn't care that the reporters would try to down talk him, call him dumb, low key. They would low key try to insinuate him being dumb, and it was a lot of racial attacks against that brother from the Chicago media that did not like inner city Chicago public school kids, especially the ones that come from the south side and the west side. That's really the inner city for real, right? They didn't like them inner city kids. Talk down on the south side and all that, and they were using that as a way to attack D Rose. And when they were attacking D Rose, they were attacking us by proxy. So we was riding with that young brother, no matter what was going on. You know what I mean? So we vibe with that brother in ways people will never understand. You know, we saw that brother become a dynamo, the most electrifying, high-flying point guard we had ever seen. You know, then Russell Westbrook eventually emerged, and now you have Ja Morant. But who had us with the best record in the NBA? We ain't had no business having the best record in the NBA with Keith Bogans as our starting two guard. Our starting shooting guard was Keith Bogans. Now we had Luol Deng, Joakim, and all that, but those guys were not fantastic scorers outside of Luol was averaging like 17, 18. Other than Luol and D Rose, nobody was so fantastic scorers. Carlos Boozer was, he was a letdown when he was here, but he was all right. You know, he was straight, 16 a game, 9 rebounds, something like that. But you know what? He wasn't the Utah Carlos Boozer when he got here. Pooh had them boys playing at an all-time high. Had us winning 60. What we won, like 62 games, something like that year we won. We had the best record in the league, 62-20. Like we wasn't supposed to be nowhere near that good. But Pooh was upholding us, and he was shining bright, and he was giving us big moments after we went through a lull. You know, during the when Michael Jordan left, we had those baby bull years with Tyson Chandler and Eddie Curry that didn't work out. With Jamal Crawford and Eddie Robinson and Donyell Marshall and Othello Harrington and Michael Sweeney and them. It didn't work out. And then we had the years with Ben Gordon, Lou Aldane, Kirk Heinrich. Those were some solid years that got us back to the playoff runs. But nobody was ever looking at us as a real possible championship contender until Pooh came on the scene and he emerged. And D Rose averaged 25 and nearly 8 assists a game. And people were like, oh, that wasn't that good. No. And during that time when Pooh was playing, it was hard to score points. It wasn't no 2 and 3 20 point per game scorers on teams. Like, to get 25 a game, you had to be official to get that. It was no easy, no, none of that. It's a lot easier to score in the league today. And I'm 29. I've been watching basketball and knowing what I was watching since I was 5, 6 years old. I remember that time. It wasn't easy. It wasn't outside of the Phoenix Suns, and and maybe who else was doing it? Golden State Warriors with Steven Jackson and them. Dudes wasn't putting up no 100+ points like that on an everyday, regular basis during that era Pooh won MVP in. Especially when Pooh was going head-to-head with the big three in Miami. You know what I mean? And having them moments and shining bright and all of that. It was something different here. He brought a spark to the city. He like made us feel whole again here. When we was going through this stuff with the youth violence in Chicago, we had a dude here that was putting a smile on our face and making us feel like proud to be from the crib. Like, we're like, look at D Rose, man. Look at him. Look at Pooh. D Rose, aka Pooh. We like, look at him, man. It was something different. It was magical, and you had to have been here to really feel it. Or maybe you felt it from where you was watching. You could have probably felt it from where you was watching. You probably felt it was something special. But us watching it every single week, we had WGN, Comcast Sportsnet. We watched him play. So every day, every game, we like, damn, man. I remember when at the beginning of the season, he said, why can't I be MVP? And Rick Bucher wrote an article before the season started and picked D Rose to win MVP. And everybody looking like, huh? Shout out, always remember that. Shout out to Rick Bucher. Like, but that's why we feel for that brother the way we feel, man. Like, to watch a dude come from the same humble beginnings we come from, make it? Like, bro, I remember when he got drafted, his homie Big Tim, that he talked about in the interview, Tim Flowers now. Tim was running around screaming at the little place they had the NBA draft, so happy and elated that his boy made it, man. He said Tim was like my big bodyguard, man. Tim was with all that. He was a hooper, but he was with a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? But he kept me protected. Like, I feel that, man, because D Rose and Tim Flowers and Brian Orange and Brandon Hall and all them boys, they really went out and did something special. Kevin Johnson, they went and did something special and won back-to-back state titles. They were the first Chicago public school team to win back-to-back state titles. And after that, Jabari Parker and Kendrick Nunn, them, they won 4 straight state titles on the 4A level in Chicago. So that, like, D Rose and them started a trend that was magical, man. Like, and yeah, man, it was I promise you, just a different feeling, man. That brother is special, and we know, he's very introverted. He's very to himself, but he got a whole lot to say, especially from what we watching on My Expert Opinion with Mav Hoffa, man. I know it's going to be even greater as it goes on, and we're going to find out a lot more about D Rose because a lot of people have never really heard him talk and really be this vocal before in his career. So it's enlightening to watch, and I can't wait to keep watching to see what more he will reveal on that platform, man. But shout out to Mav Hoffa. Shout out to the other guests on the show, man. Just quality content. And guys been dying to get D Rose on that platform to be like on all these different podcasts. He hasn't come on yet. And he was just like, man, it felt right to come on that podcast. He listened to that voice that he's always listened to throughout his time living in Chicago. And it was like, man, something told him to come there and do the interview. And it's turning out great, man. Machiavelli Mills TV, y'all watch it for yourself. I'm out. Peace.